Hello everyone, welcome to JIGS Go News, weekly Go News from all over the world, from the Jena International Go School headquarter that is everywhere in the world. As you can see, my room being part of it. Today we're gonna look into a lot of different stuff. We're looking at the first two rounds of the LG Cup. Of course, we're gonna cover the World Amateur Go Championship results, which have been quite uplifting for the Western world, I would say. We're gonna take a look at China and the League A second stage, and we're gonna look at the Xinren Cup. In Europe, we're gonna cover the Go Festival in Vladivostok, which was part of the WAGC. And the, I think, third or fourth round of the Transatlantic Professional Go League. So let's get started. So in the LG Cup, after two rounds, because it's a knockout tournament, there are only 8 players remaining. There will be at least one exciting match in the quarterfinals, which is Koji versus Pak Yong-wang. And one player from Japan is left, as you can see in the bottom. It's Ichiriki Liu, a very formidable opponent. He got 5 wins in the Honinbo League, which we also cover, right? And almost managed to become another challenger once again. So very excited to see what he will do in the future. But for now, probably Koji and Park Jung-wang, Jin Shin-seo are the favorites for this tournament. In the World Amateur Go Championship, it was actually the first time that it was not in the Southeast Asia, like not in Japan, Korea, China, and instead it was in Russia. It was played like this game offline, but also many games online, because many people, of course, couldn't make it or other reasons, and so they played half games online, half games offline, approximately. And crazily, this year we managed to have 2 Europeans in the top 5, with Lukas Podpera on place number 4, and China being the winner once again. Congratulations. And of course also Stanislav Frejak, our dear contributor, in 5th place, who was the only person to beat China. In the Globus Cup, we had a Chinese final. Oscar Vasquez was a representative of Europe in the tournament. But he unfortunately didn't win the tournament. That would have been nice. Maybe next time. Instead, and we showed, of course, a game of the final last week in which Wang Qinghao won over to Xiao Yu, which was quite an exciting game and very close in the end. So yeah, and these two, maybe we will see them again later. In Japan, Shibano won game number 3, which we showed last week. Very exciting game. Like the games that they are playing right now are so exciting. Like I would really encourage everyone to watch them live, because Yama plays in such an interesting way. Like Shibano won 2 of the games, but Yama is always starting these fights, and it just doesn't seem like it's his normal style, but it's definitely making all of these games super exciting. So yeah, please take a look, guys. In China, the League A Stage 2 starts, where there are 16 teams. And in each match, there's basically 4 games played, like teams of 4 people. And one of the teams is considered the host and one the visitor. And in case of a draw, like 2 wins, 2 losses, the host wins. That's exciting. After 10 rounds, Team Jiangxi, Jidal, Environmental Protection, interesting name, is leading with a score of 9-1. On the first board, there's Gu Ji Hao play. And this team has no players from abroad, even though that is a possibility in the Chinese A-League. Like there are also Koreans and Japanese. I'm not sure if Japanese, but definitely also Korean people playing. In another tournament, we see again Tu Xiaoyu and Wang Xinghao. Very interesting. This is also a youth tournament. And today they played the first game. It was very exciting to watch. So let's take a look at their other final after we already looked at the last final. Oh, the Honinbo series is actually already 3-1. Okay, I didn't know that. Thanks for Baby Shamble to say that. I have not paid enough attention, it seems, in the last week. Okay, let's look at the first game of Tu Xiaoyu and Wang Xinghao. So, a quite normal type of beginning, and then white takes away the strength that black is building a little bit, also to create more pressure on this cut. Black continues normally. Now that black got a bit too far. Now that black got 2 walls, he takes a vital point, and white immediately starts a fight with this move to look for this very smart move, which is interesting. Black just says, okay, I'm not gonna care about this at all and just play this, and white continues there and black continues as well. So another fight starts on the top. Black pushes a few times and plays this really strong Hane. Like in this type of position, I feel like, ooh, black feels so strong. Black feels so difficult to beat. Okay, white counter Hanes, fighting spirit, and black cuts. So that's nice. And then this fight continues a little bit. And in the end, white manages to live, but also black manages to get the upper side and the lower side. It's actually very interesting at this point. At this point here, when black sacrifices these stones to let white live, he could probably also fight, but the problem is that maybe you can even kill white, but you lose the upper side. So this is also really interesting, because as an amateur player, at this moment of choice, I would ask myself mainly, if I play here, do I kill him? And then the answer would be yes, and so I would do it. But pros are a bit smarter than that, of course. They know even if I kill him, maybe it's not a good idea. So yeah, definitely an important message for me. So after this, black took the Keima here, which is a really strong vital point, it seems, and white went elsewhere to find another group to attack. So yeah, black seems to evade a little bit. Now white seems to evade a little bit, but then he attacks further. And now, at this point, I think it's a very important Tesuji, which we all need to remember. because it's a type of Tsuji I had many times in my games, certainly, and I don't know, maybe it's a common one. So he found this cut and this one. I mean, for pros, I mean, this is not finding or something, like they just know this by heart, but yeah, it's definitely cool to see in the game. And so white, basically, if white takes, then black is pretty happy, because if he would just extend, then white would be ahead, right? Like white would be always one step ahead. But in this case, he got a little bit more of a beautiful surround, and white seems a bit of a lacking shape. So instead, white went out and made a exchange, which is basically that his group is very much hurting on the left side, but for that he got strength here to maybe reduce this area later. Excuse me. And okay, so white moves out, black continues with the attack, and white makes this really strong hane, where black can kind of cut or do things, but white, like, I think the reasoning is basically that white could move out further and then he would be further attacked, but he wants to be a bit more, how to say, forceful on the black stones as well. Like in this kind of variation, maybe the black stones don't have any weakness, and so they can just at any point like take these two stones and be fine. But by doing the hane, he also limits the liberties of his opponent by maybe sacrificing more, but getting something outside so that he can use the aji on the right side. So that's also quite beautiful. Black immediately took the white stones, essentially, because at least white cannot connect and immediately win the liberty race against black. But what white does do is to go from the other side to look for aji. Black answers and white hanes, and now black doesn't answer anymore. Here, essentially, if black would continue to answer, then at some point maybe like doing even more of a hane or something. Like white just wants to add stones here, which are kind of threatening. Like there's also this move, which is really interesting to look at. Basically, if black does this, then it's some kind of ko, or black does this kind of thing, and then maybe he can kill them or not. But basically, with all these type of variations around, white can get a lot of moves outside and sente, and then at some point definitely this will become dangerous for black as well. So that's what white is looking for, and so black says, no, I don't want to think about that anymore. But then white moves out, of course, to make true his statement of, oh, there's danger lurking in the shadows. And so he moves out, black defends a little bit, and white tries to connect his weak stones to also put pressure on black on the right side and left side. Okay, so, and then a few moves later, this move is basically, I think, a bit too much, kind of. Like, you want this move in sente, right? You want white to answer, and then it's a great move, great exchange, because you limit the harassment white can do for the right side group. But the problem is white attacks immediately. And now I think the game starts to shift, because beforehand black got this kind of, even though there's still aji, of course. And white doesn't have enough yet. But now white has a target, and it's always great to have a target. So white starts off with this first, which is a beautiful exchanges he can get. So this squeeze, and then he follows up with the attack. And so after a few more moves, basically there's a ko for the stones now, and white already got a lot of profit in the middle, right? And so I think from this point on, it's a very difficult game for black to play. So white played very, very softly, like he doesn't even run out with these stones or anything. He just takes endgame moves and then starts a core. And just a few more core threads and everything later, and black resigns because there's nothing he can do. Okay. So of course, because Stash prepared this, he didn't want to be as arrogant to put his own game in there and his own success story. But of course I did. So I want to also take a look at Stash's game versus Japan. Unfortunately, I would have liked also to look at the game against China, but I didn't find the SGF. Like, the website only had until round 3. But the game against Japan is really a great game, so I don't mind that very much either. So let's look at their game. Okay, so Stash is white and Japan is black, starting with Sansan. Very cool. Okay. And yes, very calm kind of beginning. Both just develop their own side, don't care what the other person is doing. But now white goes for a cool move, and white was a cool response. I think it's nice. And then black goes for the other side, and after a few exchanges we have this developing, and now white goes to what is it, to further his framework in this direction. So that's beautiful. Black doesn't let it, and so a fight ensues. Choo. And here white also, like, maybe this is like really stupid, but this would be kind of thing that I would also think about, like to do this kind of thing, to isolate this stone and to have a somewhat flexible shape here that will run out in this direction to also maybe decrease this by attacking this. That's maybe also an option. Maybe it's really bad, but I think this is definitely at least slightly better, which is to take the corner yourself as white and to leave a little bit of a weakness here. And just the development for black here will always be a bit difficult because white is looking inside his territory a little bit here. That's beautiful. So black goes for a punch and white goes for the counter punch. That's beautiful. So they connect, and now also a cool kind of exchange happens where black is alive, but also white is alive. So black took away some of the corner, but not too much. White got strong outside. And I think I like this result for white. Maybe it's not good for white. I thought, oh, that's a sweet result. Because white has center, right, essentially. And so white invaded on the right side, and then black looked like, basically, I mean, this is obvious, like too obvious. So pros, of course, start with this move, right? Not to do bad exchanges. But it's basically looking then at the turn. White, of course, the easy way to answer something is to do this. But of course, strong players shouldn't do such weak responses. So he goes for a stronger response. And for the Hane, because he can still go here, right? So that's cool. And now he has an attack target. And both jump out, both go out a lot of times. And then he takes a Hane. So basically he's looking to enclose this area a little bit by attacking this group. And actually, after a bit, we find out that he did. Like, basically at this point he got a few points. That's also great. And then after these exchanges, now the interesting stuff starts, because black is attaching here. And actually this is really interesting to read, which is like, how to say, like white can take here or something like that. Because then even if black Ataris, he can of course answer. But this is basically if white just Tinukis, which maybe white can also do, then black can just go down. And then it's, yeah, maybe this is still possible, but I think basically white is looking for, with this type of move, for a way to be able to connect at some point, or to threaten it at least, because then of course the black big group is in danger. So they had this interesting exchange basically, and now the group is still somewhat unclear. Like, it's not, we will see that later, it's still a little bit of something. Okay, but anyway, white goes for the lower side, and black defends this really big endgame move. So now we are in endgame, and now white created a group on the right side, black defends here, white goes in for this endgame, white takes a few more points there. Very calm endgame, more calm endgame. But now, here, black is going to look for a little bit. So basically, if black wants to force white to do this move at some point, or to, I don't know, to harass it a little bit. But basically, white is in ko now. So that's really fascinating. So basically, already at this stage, white can't do anything to make up for the ko, because if white does this, then black goes down, and so there's no way. So white is already in ko, and they let this be for most of the time, because white has a lot of local ko threats, and so it's not necessarily super interesting, even though it's a huge ko, obviously. So it's okay, a lot of ko threats. And here actually black said no to one ko threat, but white also said no to black's ko threat to kill the 4 stones. So black got the 4 stones, but white lived, and now actually the game is pretty much finished, with white winning. So that's beautiful. Very good game from Stash. I think essentially the game was very, very close, and black's ko threat was not enough, and now in the end white won by 4.5 points, which is yeah, quite a result for Poland and quite a result for Europe. And like I said, also Lukasz Podpora in 4th place, he managed to beat Stash. Also Benjamin Durand-Ganizier won against Japan. So a lot of interesting results definitely this year, and I'm definitely looking forward to next year's results for Europe. But yeah, let's all cheer for Stanislav. Congrats, man. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week on this show. In Europe, in the Transatlantic Pro League round 3 and 4, Artem tied with Andriy and with Calvin Sun. So Calvin Sun is a Thai god, it seems, as well as Artem. And Ali beat Remy, and Tanguy also beat Remy. So maybe Remy is starting to slow down a little bit after his amazing success story in the qualification. But I mean, it's still a very good result, I think, even to get 1 win. So congrats on that already. But also congrats, of course, on the 2 O's from Ali and Tanguy. In Vladivostok, not only the WAGC, the World Amateur Go Championship, was held, but also a Russian Team Championship and Russian Youth Team Championship were held. And in both of these championships, actually, the team of Tatarstan, if I'm pronouncing this half correctly, won. Except for that, there was also a big open tournament, the Cup of Russia, which I think is held every year. And many players from the WAGC took part in it. The first place was taken by Ilya Shikshin, and second place was actually Alex Muromchev, a 14-year-old prodigy from Moscow, who beat 6-dan Russian players and also Stanislav Frejak. So that's also quite astonishing. And these are the young people that hopefully we all have to fear in the future. Yeah, beautiful. And like we saw in the video last time, which we will look. This is probably the Alexander Muromchev I was talking about in this photo. The 14-year-old prodigy. Not bad. Not bad. Congrats on that. It looks like a really beautiful event. So let's look at the trailer of last time again, this time in a more correctly fashion. Good. Have fun, everyone.
세계 아마추어 바둑 선수권전은 전 세계 아마추어 선수들이 각 나라를 대표하여 참가하는 가장 큰 대회 중 하나입니다.
Oh my god, I was muted. I was muted because I was muted after the video. Of course, this has to happen if you have your last show, right? You have to be muted. I was telling you about these nice people that won the Tsumigo championship, Victor Lin and Ole Wille, of course. And I was telling you how you definitely have to remember the hard problem in the single-digit Q section, and the hard problem for double-digit Qs. Definitely remember this type of Miai move in the hard section. And send us your solutions at news@gojigs.eu. You can look for the problems on the website. And I also wanted to show you, actually, as a Go piece of the week, from Holy Ting, who is administrating the site Playing Go in Strange Places, which you should look up because it has a lot of interesting photos that she posts occasionally. And one is of her planking, and while she's planking, doing tsumigos. And so if you're solving out tsumigos, maybe try next time to solve them while you plank and see how many you can do in one plank, or how many planks you need to solve them all, or like do little jokes, like we saw with the Vladivostok stuff. It's great to implement other kind of activities in the Go activity, I think. So yeah, maybe try that out. And so this is my last time to be in this newscast, definitely the last time I'm checking in for Stash for the WAGC. He will be back next week. And so the last thing I want to share with you is a quote by somebody. Actually, I don't know who. I didn't write that down. That's unfortunate, but it's a nice one, I think. It's, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up somebody else. So let's all be a great Go community, lift ourselves up, lift each other up, and I hope you have a great week. Until next time.